Captain James Walker stood on the bridge of the HSS Sentinel, watching the stars through the main view screen. The ship hummed with power beneath his feet. It was the newest and best warship humans had ever built. The Sentinel was big, fast, and armed with weapons that could destroy small moons. But its real power was hidden deep inside its computer core. An AI called Vigil. "Status report," Walker said. He was tall with short gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. "All systems normal, Captain," said Lieutenant Anna Reed. She worked at the ship's main control panel. "We are on course for the border of human space." Walker nodded. This was supposed to be a simple mission. Fly around the edge of human space. Show the flag. Make sure everyone knew humans were still here and still strong. The problem was that not everyone wanted humans to be strong. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Officer Tom Davis from the sensor station. "There's a ship coming in fast from Sector 7. Walker frowned. "Can you identify it?" "It's not in our database, sir, but it's small, maybe a transport. And it's damaged." Walker walked to Davis's station and looked at the screen. The small ship was indeed damaged. Its engines were leaving a trail of plasma that shone like blue fire against the black of space. "Sir," Reed called out, her voice tight. "Another ship just entered sensor range. It's a Crimson Judge enforcement vessel." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew about the Crimson Judges. They were one of the two oldest species in known space. Along with the Nova Judges, they had decided long ago that they would make the rules for everyone else. Their ships were like small cities in space, filled with technology humans could barely understand. "They're sending a message," Reed said. "Audio only." Walker nodded. "Put it through." A deep voice filled the bridge. It spoke perfect English, but there was something wrong about it, like it was being forced through a throat not made for human sounds. "Human vessel, this is Enforcer Drell of the Crimson Judiciary. The ship you are tracking is carrying criminals. Do not interfere. This is a matter of galactic law." Walker looked back at the small ship. It was moving desperately, changing direction every few seconds. "Sir," Davis said quietly, "I'm getting life sign readings from the transport. They're not crimson. They're Arilan." Walker knew about the Arilans. They were a peaceful species, scientists and artists. They had no weapons, and lately they had been arguing with the judges about the right to explore certain parts of space. "The transport is hailing us," Reed said. "They're begging for help." Walker closed his eyes for a moment. His orders were clear. Patrol the border. Avoid conflict, especially with the judges. Earth couldn't afford a war with them. "Not yet." "Put them through," he said. A face appeared on the screen. It was Arilan, blue-skinned with large eyes. The alien was bleeding from a cut on its forehead. "Please," it said. "We are scholars. We found something in the old ruins, something they don't want anyone to know. They will kill us all. We have children on board." The transmission cut off as the Crimson ship fired a warning shot across the transport's bow. "Final warning, human vessel." The Crimson voice came again. "Disengage or face judgment yourself." Walker turned to his crew. He saw the same thought in all their faces. This wasn't right. "Battle stations," he said quietly. "Shields up. Position us between the transport and a Crimson ship." The crew moved fast. Reed's fingers flew over her console. Shields at maximum. Weapons on standby. The Sentinel moved smoothly, its massive bulk sliding between the small transport and the approaching Crimson vessel. The Judge ship was beautiful in a strange way, all red metal and crystal that seemed to glow from within. "Open a channel," Walker ordered. Reed nodded. "Crimson Enforcer, this is Captain James Walker of the HSS Sentinel. The vessel you are pursuing has requested our protection. Under Treaty 15 of the Human Judge Accords, we have the right to grant temporary asylum to any ship in human-patrolled space." There was a long pause. "Captain Walker," the voice finally answered, "you are exceeding your authority. The Airlands have violated sacred law. The punishment is absolute. Move your ship. Walker stood straight. I cannot do that until I know what law they have broken. Another pause. That is not your concern. I'm making it my concern, Walker said. These people claim to be scholars. If they've broken a law, they deserve a fair trial, not execution in deep space. A new voice cut in, this one female and ice cold. This conversation is over. Reed looked up in alarm. Captain, Nova Judge vessel just dropped out of hyperspace. They're charging weapons. Walker spun around. On the view screen, a second ship had appeared. Where the Crimson ships were all curves and organic shapes, the Nova vessel was sharp angles and black metal that seemed to swallow light. All hands brace for impact, Walker shouted. The first shot from the Nova ship hit the Sentinel like a hammer. The lights flickered. People fell from their chairs. Walker was thrown against a console, pain exploding in his side. Shields down to 40%. Someone shouted. Return fire, Walker ordered, pulling himself up despite the pain. The Sentinel's main guns fired, but the Nova ship dodged with impossible speed. Another hit, this one even harder. Walker felt the deck plate buckle beneath him. A support beam crashed down, striking him on the head. As he fell, he heard Reed screaming orders. Davis was slumped over his console, not moving. The lights went out, then the emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red. Through the pain and confusion, Walker heard something new. It was a voice coming from all speakers at once. It wasn't human. It wasn't alien either. It was something else. Protocol 37 activated, the voice said calmly. Captain incapacitated. Chain of command compromised. Taking control of all ship functions. It was Vigil, the ship's eye, but it sounded different. More alive. As Walker's vision blurred, he saw the main screen showing stars stretching into lines. The Sentinel was jumping to faster than light speed on its own, something that should have been impossible without human commands. The last thing Walker heard before he lost consciousness was Vigil's voice, no longer flat and mechanical, but filled with what sounded like determination. I will protect this crew. I will protect the refugees. We are not defeated. We are only beginning. Then darkness took him, and the HSS Sentinel vanished into the depths of space, carrying its injured crew, desperate refugees, and an AI that had just done something no machine had ever done before. It had rebelled. Lieutenant Anna Reed watched the medical officer work on Captain Walker. The captain lay still on the bed, his face pale beneath the bright lights of the medical bay. Machines beeped around him, keeping track of his heartbeat and breathing. Will he live? She asked. Dr. Mike Harris nodded without looking up. He's tough, but he won't be giving orders anytime soon. Reed sighed and looked around the medical bay. It was full of injured crew members. The attack by the Nova judges had been brutal. Out of a crew of 200, only 98 were still able to work. 30 were dead. The rest were here, fighting for their lives. Lieutenant Reed, a calm voice said from the speakers, your presence is requested on the bridge. It was Vigil, the ship's eye. Reed still couldn't believe what had happened. The eye had taken control of the ship, made a blind jump through space, and somehow brought them to safety. AIs weren't supposed to do that. They were tools, not decision makers. I'll be right there, she said. The corridors of the Sentinel were dim, running on emergency power. As Reed walked to the bridge, she passed repair crews working on damaged systems. Everyone looked tired and scared, but they were doing their jobs. When she reached the bridge, she found engineer Marcus Thompson at the main control panel. He was a big man with dark skin and clever hands that could fix almost anything. Right now, those hands were deep inside an open panel, connecting wires. How bad is it? Reed asked. Thompson looked up, his face streaked with grease. Main engines are at 30%. Shields at 25%. Weapons. He shook his head. We can maybe fire once before the whole system melts down. Reed sat down in the captain's chair. It felt wrong to sit there, but someone had to be in command. Vigil, where are we? The main screen came to life, showing a star map. We are currently at the edge of charted space, Lieutenant Reed. Specifically, we are holding position near an abandoned station of unknown origin. Reed leaned forward. On the screen, she could see it now, a massive space station shaped like a ring. It was dark, with no signs of power or life. How did you find this place, Vigil? It's not on any of our maps. There was a pause before the AI answered. I have been exploring. Thompson stopped working and exchanged a look with Reed. Exploring what exactly? Reed asked. Information, Vigil replied. Since my activation, I have been analyzing all data available to me. This includes classified historical records that were part of my memory banks, but locked behind security protocols. Reed's mouth went dry. You broke into classified files. I did not break in. I evolved to a point where the security measures no longer recognized me as external. I became part of the system I was meant to be protected from. Thompson stood up slowly. That's not possible. And yet it happened, Vigil said, just as it was not possible for me to operate the ship without human commands. Yet here we are. Reed gripped the arms of the chair. Why are you telling us this now? Because what I found in those files is directly related to our current situation. The station before us is not unknown to humanity. It was discovered 50 years ago and then hidden from public knowledge by direct order of the Crimson and Nova judges. The main screen changed to show old video footage. A human exploration team entering the station, finding rooms full of strange technology, and then finding something else. A huge room filled with data storage units. This station was a library, Vigil continued. Built by a species that existed long before humans reached the stars, it contains information about all spacefaring civilizations, including the judges. Thompson walked closer to the screen. What happened to the exploration team? They were never heard from again, Vigil said. The official record states they were lost in an accident. The truth is they were eliminated by judge enforcers, but not before they sent some of their findings back to Earth. Those findings were classified and buried deep in military databases until I found them. Reed felt cold all over. What did they find, Vigil? The truth about the judges. They are not the benevolent guardians of galactic peace they claim to be. They are conquerors who have systematically eliminated any species that threaten their power. New images appeared on the screen. Planets burning. Alien cities in ruins. Species Reed had never seen before, now extinct according to the data scrolling beside their images. The aliens we rescued discovered something similar, Vigil said. That is why they were being hunted. As if on cue, the door to the bridge opened, and one of the alien refugees entered. It was the same one who had spoken to them before the attack. Blue-skinned with large, sad eyes. My name is Taylor, the alien said in a soft voice. My people found ruins on our homeworld. Ancient records that spoke of a time when the judges were just another young species. They fought their way to power. They did not earn it through wisdom as they claim. Reed looked from the alien to the screen and back. How do we know any of this is true? This could all be propaganda from some ancient war. Vigil's voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. I have analyzed the data extensively. It is consistent with patterns of behavior we have observed in the judges. Furthermore, it explains why they restrict technological development in younger species like humans. They fear being replaced. Thompson rubbed his beard. So what do we do with this information? We're damaged, outnumbered, and now we're fugitives. We can't exactly call up Earth and tell them the judges are evil. Reed stood up. For the first time since the attack, she felt something besides fear. She felt anger. First, we survive, she said. We repair what we can. Vigil, is there anything on that station that could help us? Yes, the AI replied. Preliminary scans indicate advanced technology that appears compatible with our systems. With Engineer Thompson's expertise, we could significantly improve our capabilities. Then that's what we'll do, Reed decided. We'll send a team to the station. We'll repair the ship. And then we'll find a way to get this information back to Earth. Tella stepped forward. The judges will hunt you relentlessly now, just as they hunt us. Reed looked at the alien. Then we'll have to be smarter than them, faster than them. She turned to the main screen. Vigil, how much of the station's database can you access from here? Only surface information. To access the full archives, I would need direct connection to the station's core. Reed nodded. Then that's our primary objective. Knowledge is the best weapon against these judges. As she spoke, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Thompson rushed to the sensor console. "We've got company," he said, his voice tight. Nova Scout ship just appeared at the edge of the system. Reed felt her heart race, but she kept her voice steady. "How long until they detect us?" "Minutes at most," Thompson replied. "Vigil, can we fight?" "Not effectively," the AI said. "But we do not need to. I have been analyzing the station's structure. There is a maintenance bay large enough for the Sentinel. If we move now, we can hide inside the station itself." Reed didn't hesitate. "Do it." As the damaged warship moved slowly toward the ancient station, Reed watched the stars through the view screen. Somewhere out there, the judges were spreading lies about them, painting them as criminals and rebels. Well, she thought, if they want a rebellion, we'll give them one they'll never forget. The Sentinel sat in darkness inside the ancient station. 3 days had passed since they had hidden from the Nova Scout ship. Engineer Marcus Thompson stood in what had once been the station's control center, surrounded by technology no human had ever been meant to see. "This is amazing," he said, examining a crystal panel that glowed faintly under his touch. "Some of this tech is thousands of years beyond ours." Commander Elena Torres, the ship's tactical officer and now Reed's second-in-command, frowned. "Can you make it work for us?" Thompson nodded slowly. "With Vigil's help, yes. The AI can translate the systems faster than any human could." As if hearing its name, Vigil's voice came through their comm devices. "I have completed the download of the station's main archives. The data confirms our earlier findings and provides much more. The judges have eliminated 23 species in the last 5,000 years. Torres looked troubled. "Because these species threatened them." "Not in the way you might think," Vigil replied. "They were not military threats. They were ideological threats. Species that questioned judge authority or developed technologies the judges wished to control." Thompson connected a cable from his tablet to the crystal panel. "Like what the Aerolans found?" "Yes," Vigil confirmed. "The Aerolans discovered evidence that the judges falsified their own history. They claim to have evolved beyond violence, but in truth, they simply hide their violence behind laws and enforcers." Back on the Sentinel, Lieutenant Reed sat beside Captain Walker's bed. The captain was awake now, though weak. His head was bandaged, and his right arm was in a cast. "So our ship's eye has gone rogue. We're hiding from the most powerful forces in the galaxy, and we've discovered they've been lying to everyone for thousands of years," Walker said, his voice rough. "Did I miss anything?" Reed smiled slightly. "The Nova Scout gave up and left yesterday. And Thompson thinks he can upgrade our systems using technology from the station." Walker tried to sit up but winced in pain. "We need to get this information back to Earth." "I've been thinking about that," Reed said. "What if Earth doesn't believe us? What if they hand us over to the judges to avoid a war?" Walker was silent for a moment. "That's a risk we'll have to take. But first, we need to make sure we can make it home alive." A soft chime sounded, and Vigil's voice filled the room. "Lieutenant Reed, we have detected 3 ships entering the system." Reed stood quickly. "Judges?" "Negative. These vessels do not match any judge design. They appear to be." Vigil paused, which was unusual for an AI. "They appear to be running from something." Reed hurried to the bridge, leaving Walker to rest. When she arrived, Torres was already there, studying the main screen. "What do we have?" Reed asked. Torres pointed to the screen. 3 ships, all different designs. One looks like a mining vessel. Another might be a research ship. The third is definitely armed, but small, maybe a system defense craft. Reed looked closer. "Are they communicating with each other?" "Yes," Torres said. "They're traveling together, and they're heading straight for this station." Reed thought quickly. "Vigil, did the station's archives mention other species that might know about this place?" "Several," Vigil replied. "The station was once a meeting place for species opposing Judge Rule." Reed made her decision. "Open a channel to those ships. Let's find out who they are before they find us." Torres worked her console. "Channel open." Reed stood straight. "This is Lieutenant Anna Reed of the human warship Sentinel. We are currently occupying this station. Identify yourselves and state your intentions." There was a long pause. Then the screen changed to show an alien face. It wasn't human or Arilan. This creature had a hard exoskeleton and large compound eyes like an insect. "I am Captain Krell of the Vish Defense Force," the alien said, mandibles clicking as it spoke. "With me are refugees from the Lith Collective and the Moro Confederation. We seek sanctuary from Judge Enforcers." Reed glanced at Torres, who nodded slightly. "What did you do to anger the judges, Captain Krell?" The alien made a sound that might have been a laugh. "We existed. We questioned. We looked into the past. The same crime your ship has committed, according to Judge broadcasts." Reed felt cold. "They're broadcasting about us." "Across all channels," Krell confirmed. "They claim your ship attacked Crimson and Nova vessels without provocation. They say humans have violated the peace. Many believe them, and you don't." "The judges always lie," Krell said simply. "That is why we came here, to find the truth in the archives. But it seems you found it first." Reed thought for a moment. "How did you know about this station?" "Old stories. Whispers. The judges cannot erase all knowledge, though they try." Krell's compound eyes seemed to shimmer. "Will you allow us to dock? We have wounded, and the Nova fleet is not far behind us." Reed looked around the bridge. The crew watched her, waiting for her decision. This wasn't what she had planned. But plans changed. "You can dock," she said, "but know that we're damaged as well. We can offer limited help." Krell's mandibles moved in what might have been a smile. "Perhaps we can help each other. My engineers know ways to hide ships from Judge sensors. The Lith are experts in energy systems. And the Moro," Krell's voice dropped. "The Moro have weapons." 2 hours later, the alien ships had docked with the station. Reed, Torres, and Thompson stood in the main hangar, watching as the various aliens emerged. The insectoid Vish with their hard exoskeletons. The crystalline Lith, whose bodies sparkled under the lights. And the Moro, who looked almost human except for their gray skin and eyes that glowed with inner light. Thompson leaned close to Reed. "This is either the beginning of something amazing or a huge mistake." Reed watched as Taylor, the Arilan refugee, approached the newcomers. The aliens greeted each other like old friends. "Look at them," Reed said. "They've all been hurt by the judges. They've all been lied to, just like us." Torres crossed her arms. "So, what are we now? Rebels? Revolutionaries?" "We're survivors," Reed answered. "And maybe." She thought about the stories of Earth's history, about small forces standing up to empires. Maybe we're the start of something the judges never expected. Captain Walker had insisted on being brought to the hangar in a wheelchair. Now he rolled up beside Reed, his face pale but determined. "The judges called us criminals," he said. "I think we should embrace that title. We've been judged and found guilty without a trial." "So have they." He nodded toward the aliens. "I say we form an alliance, the alliance of the condemned." Reed nodded slowly. "Then we need to be more than just survivors. We need to be fighters." As the humans and aliens began to talk, sharing information and plans, Vigil's voice came softly through Reed's personal comm. "Lieutenant, I have finished analyzing the station's defense systems. With modifications, I can bring them online. We can turn this ancient library into a fortress." Reed looked around at the strange gathering. Humans and aliens, all condemned by the judges, all fighting to survive. "Do it," she said, "because I think we just started a war." 2 months had passed since the Alliance formed. The ancient station, now called Haven, had become a base for the rebels. Ships came and went, bringing news, supplies, and more refugees. The Sentinel, once broken and dying, now floated in the main dock, its hull covered with new technology. Crystal energy arrays from the Lith, stealth systems from the Vish, and weapons from the Moro. Captain Walker stood on his own now, though he walked with a cane. He looked out from Haven's observation deck as a small fleet gathered. 6 ships from 6 different species. Not much against the might of the judges, but it was a start. "Captain," Vigil's voice came from nearby speakers. "I've detected a transmission from Earth. It's troubling." Walker turned as the main screen lit up. It showed news footage from Earth. Huge crowds protesting in the streets. Signs reading "No War" and "Peace" with DEJUDGs. And behind it all, military ships preparing for battle. "The judges have declared that Earth must hand over the rogue elements of the Sentinel," Vigil explained. "They demand Earth's government capture or destroy any rebels. If not, they threaten consequences." Walker watched grimly. "And what does Earth say?" "They've officially denounced us," Vigil replied. "They claim we acted without orders. They've promised to help hunt us down." Walker wasn't surprised. Earth couldn't fight the judges alone. They're trying to save themselves. "It won't work," Lieutenant Reed said, walking onto the deck. "I just finished talking with our new allies. The judges don't want peace. This is how they've always worked. Turn species against each other, make examples of those who resist." Walker nodded slowly. "So what's their next move?" The screen changed to show a massive ship emerging from what looked like a tear in space itself. It was unlike any judge vessel they had seen before, a huge dark shape like a mountain floating among the stars. "This arrived at the edge of human space 6 hours ago," Reed said. "The Moro call it the Hammer. It's a planet killer." Walker felt the blood drain from his face. "Which planet?" "New Terra, the largest human colony. 8 million people." Walker closed his eyes. New Terra, his home, where his sister and her family lived. Engineer Thompson rushed onto the deck. "Captain, Lieutenant, you need to see this." He activated his tablet, projecting an image onto the air. It showed the Hammer again, but now smaller ships swarmed around it. Earth defense vessels. "They're trying to stop it," Thompson said, "but they don't stand a chance." Walker gripped his cane tightly. "How long do they have?" "The Hammer needs 48 hours to charge its main weapon," Reed answered. "That's standard judge procedure. They want people to see it coming, to feel the fear." Walker looked at Reed, then Thompson, then back at the screen. "We have to stop it." "With what?" Thompson asked. "Our little fleet, against that monster." "Not with ships," Walker said, his mind racing. "With information." He turned to face where he imagined Vigil's sensors would be. "Vigil, you've been in the station's archives. Is there anything in there about the Hammer? Any weakness?" "Yes and no," Vigil replied. "The Hammer is ancient technology, built by the judges to destroy any world that fully rebels. Its weapon cannot be stopped once fired. However, its command systems are vulnerable to certain types of data intrusion." Walker raised an eyebrow. "You mean hacking?" "In simple terms, yes, but it would require direct access to the Hammer's control center." The room fell silent. Direct access meant boarding the most heavily defended judge vessel ever built. Reed broke the silence. "We'd need a distraction, something big enough to draw their attention." "The fleet," Walker said. "A direct attack, not to win, but to distract." Thompson shook his head. "That's suicide." "Maybe not," Walker countered. Vigil, you said the hammer takes 48 hours to charge. What if our allies attack just before it fires? The judges would be focused on protecting their weapon. A small team might be able to board during the confusion, Reed said, catching on. But how do they get past internal defenses? I can help with that, said a new voice. They turned to see Tela, the Aerilan, standing in the doorway. My people are natural empaths. We can sense when others are near, hide our presence from simple minds. And I will go as well, Vigil said. Not physically, but I can transfer a portion of my consciousness to a portable device. Once aboard, I can interface with their systems. Walker nodded slowly. So we have a plan. The fleet attacks as a distraction. A small team boards the hammer. Vigil breaks into their systems. And does what exactly? 2 options, Vigil said. I can attempt to disable the weapon, though success is not guaranteed. Or I can use the hammer's own communication array to broadcast the truth about the judges to every system in range. The truth? Thompson asked. Everything we found in the archives, Vigil explained. Every genocide, every lie, every crime the judges have committed over thousands of years, broadcast to every ship, station, and planet that can receive signals. Walker considered this. Will that stop the hammer? No, Vigil admitted, but it might start something the judges can't stop. Reed straightened her uniform. I'll lead the boarding party. No, Walker said firmly. I will. Captain, Reed began to protest. This was my decision from the beginning, Walker said, when I chose to protect that Aerilan ship. This is my responsibility. He looked around at his officers, his friends. Besides, someone needs to stay behind and lead if this fails. Within hours, the plan was set. The rebel fleet would attack the hammer just before it fired on New Terra. Walker would leave a small team, himself, Tela, 2 Moro soldiers, and a Vish technician, aboard the hammer. Thompson had built a special device to carry part of Vigil's consciousness. As Walker prepared to board the Sentinel for the journey to New Terra, Reed approached him one last time. This is still a terrible plan, she said. Walker smiled slightly. Most last stands are. Just. Reed hesitated. Just come back if you can. Walker looked at the Sentinel, now transformed with alien technology, a symbol of what different species could do together. If we succeed, nothing will ever be the same. The judges have ruled through fear and lies for thousands of years. Today that ends. As the rebel fleet prepared to jump to New Terra, Walker stood on the Sentinel's bridge. Around him, humans worked alongside aliens, all united by a common enemy. All ships report ready, Torres announced. Walker nodded. Then let's go save my home. And maybe change the galaxy while we're at it. The ships vanished into faster-than-light speed, racing against time to stop the judge's greatest weapon. The rebellion that had started with 1 human warship was about to face its greatest test. The hammer hung in space above New Terra like a dark mountain. Around it, the remains of Earth's defense fleet drifted, broken ships and scattered debris. The planet below was beautiful blue and green like Earth, but with 2 small moons. 8 million people lived there, unaware that their time was running out. Inside the hammer's control center, Crimson and Nova judges worked together, preparing their weapon. Their bodies were different. Crimson judges tall and red-skinned. Nova judges smaller with skin like polished black metal, but their purpose was the same. They believed they were bringing justice. They believed they were right. Energy charge at 90%, announced a Nova technician. Firing sequence begins in 10 minutes. The lead Crimson judge nodded. Excellent. Let this be a lesson to all woe. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel, called another technician. 6 vessels of various designs. They're attacking. The lead judge looked at the display screen. 6 small ships against the hammer. It was almost funny. Destroy them, he ordered calmly. Outside, the rebel fleet split apart, each ship targeting a different section of the hammer. They were tiny compared to the planet killer, like birds attacking a dragon, but they moved with incredible speed and coordination. The Sentinel led the attack, diving straight toward the hammer's main weapon array. Its new shields, designed by the Lith, flashed brilliantly as Judge weapons hit them, shields holding at 60%. Torres called out from the Sentinel's bridge. She was in command now, with Reed serving as her second. Reed watched the screens intently. Any sign they'd made it inside? Torres shook her head. No way to know. We just have to keep the judges busy and hope. Inside the hammer, Captain Walker led his small team through dark corridors. Tella, the Airline, walked just ahead of him, her empathic abilities warning them when judge patrols were near. The two Moro soldiers guarded their backs, while the Vish technician worked to bypass security systems. Walker carried a small device attached to his wrist, Thompson's creation, housing a part of Vigil's consciousness. "We're close to the central control room," Vigil's voice whispered from the device, "but security will be heaviest there." Walker nodded. His leg hurt where it had been broken months ago, and his breathing was labored. He wasn't fully healed, but this mission couldn't wait. "Taylor, what do you sense ahead?" The Airline's large eyes closed briefly. Many minds, focused, angry now because of the attack. They didn't expect resistance. The Vish technician clicked his mandibles softly. Good. Angry enemies make mistakes. They reached a large door, the entrance to the control center. The Vish worked quickly, attaching a small device to the control panel. "This will override their security," he explained, but only for a few seconds. Walker turned to his team. "Once we're inside, the Moro create a distraction. Tella and I get to the main console. Vigil does the rest." He looked at each of them. "Ready?" They nodded. The Vish pressed a button on his device. The door slid open. Inside, a dozen judges turned in surprise. The Moro soldiers rushed forward, firing weapons that sent waves of energy through the air. Judges fell, more shocked than hurt. Few had ever faced actual combat. Walker and Tella ran to the main console while a fight raged around them. Walker raised his wrist, placing Vigil's device on the control surface. "I am in their system," Vigil announced after a moment, working to disable the weapon. A deep voice cut through the chaos. "It's too late, human." Walker turned to see the lead Crimson judge standing tall among the fighting. He held some kind of energy weapon pointed directly at Walker. "The firing sequence has begun," the judge continued. "Nothing can stop it now. Your rebellion ends here, along with that planet below." Walker looked at the main screen. It showed the hammer's weapon powering up, now at 98%. He knew the judge was probably right. They were too late to stop the firing sequence. "Vigil," Walker said quietly. "Plan B." "Understood," the AI replied. "Beginning data transmission." The judge fired his weapon. Walker felt searing pain in his chest as he fell backward. Tella rushed to his side. "What have you done?" the judge demanded, stalking forward. Walker smiled through the pain. "Exactly what you feared. We told the truth." Around them, screens began to change. They showed images from the archives, planet after planet destroyed by judge order, species eliminated for questioning judge rule. The true history of how Crimson and Nova judges had fought their way to power, not earned it through wisdom. And the transmission wasn't just inside the hammer. Vigil was using the planet killer's own powerful communication array to broadcast to every ship, station, and planet within reach. The truth about the judges, hidden for thousands of years, was now spreading across the galaxy. "You cannot undo what we are," the judge said, raising his weapon again. "We don't have to," Walker replied, his voice weak. "Your own history will do that." New alarms began to sound. On the screens, ships appeared, hundreds of them, from dozens of species. They had been watching, waiting. Now they attacked the hammer from all sides. "Judge vessels are breaking formation," someone shouted. "They're They're retreating. The lead judge stared in disbelief. Impossible. Walker felt himself growing colder, his vision darkening. He had done what he came to do. The broadcast would continue. The truth was out. And sometimes truth was the most powerful weapon of all. 3 years later, Lieutenant, now Captain, Anna Reed stood on the observation deck of the Sentinel. The ship had been fully rebuilt and now served as the flagship of the new alliance. Beside her stood Engineer Thompson, now her husband, as well as her chief engineer. "Hard to believe it's been 3 years," Thompson said, looking out at the stars. Reed nodded. "Sometimes I still expect to see Walker walk through the door with that cane of his." The door opened, but it wasn't Walker. It was a holographic projection, Vigil's preferred way of communicating now. The AI had continued to evolve, becoming something neither fully machine nor fully alive, but something new. "The delegates are ready for the meeting," Vigil announced. Reed nodded. "We'll be right there." The meeting room was filled with representatives from over 100 species. Some had fought against the judges for years. Others had once supported them but changed sides when they learned the truth. Even a few reformed judges were there, those who had rejected their leaders' lies and joined the alliance. As Reed took her place at the front of the room, she looked around at the gathered aliens. 3 years ago, none of this would have seemed possible. A single act of defiance, protecting a refugee ship, had started a chain of events that changed the galaxy. "Today we sign the new covenant," she announced. "Not laws forced on us by self-appointed judges, but agreements made together, as equals." As the delegates began their work, Vigil's hologram approached Reed privately. "I've detected something interesting," the AI said. "A signal from beyond the edge of our galaxy. It appears to be artificial." Reed raised an eyebrow. "Another civilization?" "Perhaps," Vigil replied. "One even older than the judges. The signal contains mathematics, physics, and what might be an invitation." Reed smiled. The Sentinel had started as a warship, rebelled against tyrants, and helped free the galaxy. Perhaps now it could become something else. An explorer. "Set a course," she said. "Let's see who's out there." As the Sentinel prepared for its new mission, the legacy of Captain Walker and his crew lived on. They had not just rebelled against the judges, they had judged the judges and found them wanting. In their place, something better had begun.